Hey there, We Can't Wrestle podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
Hey, this is a national treasure and the real world's champion, Nick Aldis. And just when you thought that every possible wrestling podcast name in the world was taken, Nate comes in with a clinch with the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Based on Nate's unbelievable level of praise for me, I would go ahead and say that Nate sounds like a knowledgeable, smart, trustworthy human being, and his expertise should be lauded and appreciated by all of the listeners of the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
You're listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Now it's time for our host, Kate Manson.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to episode 148 of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxon, your host, here with you, along with Senor Archie Mitchell.
Hola.
Hola. And my brother Aaron, of course.
What's up, crackers?
All right, Crackerin' in Crackerville here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. This week we are going to continue our Dream Roster series as Archie is going to be presenting us as his Dream Modern Roster. I'm looking forward to that. Might chime in with if it was somebody that I had on my roster, good pull or what have you. We'll have a good discussion here of Archie's Dream Modern Roster, and he says his list is going to beat Aaron's list, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well,
Probably not.
It has to be Eric's list because all I did was put AEW's entire roster. Everybody.
Then it won't be my list.
And did you do yours, Archie? Your 10 heels, 10 faces, 5 tag teams? Did you do it that way? Or
I actually have 6, 7 tag teams, and then a 16-man roster, and I have a good mixture. It's not 5 heels, 5 faces. You said I thought we were doing 30, correct?
yes.
So I figured 14 or 7 teams. And
Did I say 5? Did I say 5?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I meant 10 faces, 10 heels, 5 tag teams. That's yes, to get to 6.
So, like I said, I have an equal mixture of every, a little bit of everybody. The only thing I couldn't fit in was women. But I think I'm going to go down in We Can't Wrestle history as the woman hater. Because whenever I do grinds my gears or have something to bitch about, it's usually about women's wrestling. So.
Well, I didn't incorporate women into my roster either. So
You'll also be the only guy that's ever said I couldn't fit in a woman.
Right.
Because all of us
Right. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
he's frozen.
But it's an equal balance. I looked at guys that I like, but then also a few guys that I figured would grow in my roster and, either fill it out the right way or at least become suitable contenders for any championship we got.
And that is also what I did. I looked at, all right, I want to look at the now and I want to look at the future. And then, also with your tag teams, you look at your tag teams, you go, oh, these are 2 guys that later on down the line I can split up and they can be good singles wrestlers,
Right.
So But before we get into Archie's roster this week, I do want to give some news, some in-house little housekeeping, if you will, business news here. I will make it I've kind of started a little bit making it official, but I'll make it official after we've aired the show. Everybody knows about WrestleNet Radio, the 24/7 internet radio station, wrestling radio station that I started back in April. Well, we're going to call that a learning experience here. I'm taking WrestleNet Radio down. It's going away. It is hasta la vista, WrestleNet Radio. I want to thank everybody that supported the station, and it's not like this is a sad thing. Like I said, this is the way I look at it. Archie, is a failed experiment.
Of course.
And really, the biggest thing that I found out whilst doing this is we are at a point now in society where people want to be able to, like, say something like this, like a podcast or a show that they listen to. They want to be able to listen when they want to, not when they're told to. I mean, that's obviously one of the reasons that people have gone towards streaming instead of, cable and what have you.
DVR service, streaming,
Yeah.
they have it when they want it. You know what I mean? And I guess we're children of the 80s, so we know what that's like. The only difference is we used to record our music off the radio and listen to it later on a Walkman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And so that's the deal. I mean, I think that that's the biggest thing that was a detriment to having the radio station was just having to listen to the original shows on the station got decent listenership, but it never, once it reached a certain plateau, it never grew.
Right.
So those of you that might be sad hearing, oh no, I'm not going to get to hear Archie's show. Yes, you are. We're just changing it up, and the shows that were original shows on the radio station, i.e., say Maximum Gold, or Slice of Time, or If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking, or Aaron's Show The Year That Was, those are going to still be alive, and sometime within the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be launching every single one of them as its own podcast.
Yeah.
So we are going to keep WrestleNet Radio as a brand and just start calling this the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network. So there you go. That's the news. That's what's going on. And like I said, for those of you who have listened to the station, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And the shows will continue as podcasts, which I think actually at the end of the day, I'm looking at as more of a positive. Because for us, the people that do these shows for you, we also have jobs and et cetera, et cetera. So maybe it's more convenient for Archie to not have to have his show done by Friday, or what have you. Maybe,
right.
It's sometimes you're like, I'm on a time crunch. I can't get this done. Maybe, so with a podcast, it doesn't have to come out that day at that time. It can just come out weekly whenever we can put it out. So that's, I think it's going to be a benefit for everybody, the listeners and the presenters as well.
I agree completely. And we should try to work in, like, your show's a slice of time.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron's is the year that was. And I'm If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking. We should try to do If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking on a slice of time for the year that was.
Welcome to the world's first 9-hour podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. Hey, we've had longer. The first podcast I was ever on, we went 5 hours without recording.
Yes, it was Archie and David Gold and myself, and then I had something else that I had recorded that I put on it too. It was actually the only one I've ever posted where the podcast server was like, you might have to post this in 2 parts because it didn't have enough. I didn't have enough space to put it on there. So that's all right. We used to go pretty long-winded back in the day. We've kind of streamlined it now. Try to keep every show to less than 2 hours.
I was trying to use my phone, and that shit is not cooperating.
Well, you're back. That's cool.
And it's not raining anymore, so I'm going to sit on my fucking deck.
We just discussed the WrestleNet Radio thing, so we haven't even gotten into Archie's roster yet, but we're about to.
Yes.
Let's get ready to destroy it.
I'm kidding. We will kick Aaron's Wrestling Federation.
Now, do you have your commentators, your booker, your ring announcer, your interviewer?
Well, I do, but see, here's the thing. I tossed and turned about this a lot. I mean, who doesn't want Jim Ross pulling their match? You know what I mean? But Jim Ross has gotten very old, slightly senile, and it's gotten to the point where he makes a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can't have Jim. So I know a lot of people give Tony Schiavone a bad rap, but I think if I had to choose, I'd go with Tony Schiavone and Corey Graves as my announcer.
Okay.
All right. And as a backstage interviewer, I love Kevin Kelly and I love his work that he used to do in Ring of Honor and in New Japan. And I think as an interviewer / fill-in commentary guy, he's perfect.
Well, that's kind of what I know you weren't able to make the show when I did mine. My broadcast team, I actually had I had JR as my play-by-play guy and Wade Barrett as my color commentator.
Not a bad person.
But because I like him so much, which you were just talking about, a 3-man booth, for my pay-per-views only, I also made a 3-man booth for my pay-per-views, and I put Pat McAfee in it because I think that guy's fantastic.
He's not bad. He's a throwback actor. He's very jovial. He's very boisterous. But I don't like Pat McAfee the person. That's the only problem. The announcement is fine, but
I just, like I said, I know what you're saying about when you have a big show or something, you want to have, say, Kevin Kelly be able to come into the booth and add an extra voice to what's going on.
And he, like I said, his work in Ring of Honor is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And when he decided to go work in New Japan as their American announcer, he was fantastic. You know what I mean? And I don't know how the WWE let him go. And
Vince thought he was fat.
Well, I mean, JR was fat at that time too, so difference.
I think what hurt Kevin was he didn't have the political clout that JR did.
Right. So, and he didn't like being yelled at. Like Michael Cole enjoyed it. He didn't like being yelled at.
Yeah. And that's why he's been. Yep, and that's why Michael's been there for 25 years because he doesn't care if Vince McMahon yells at him.
Right. So, those are my announcers, my interviews. My first draft pick, look, you gotta understand, I've always been a fan. When I first discovered him joining ECW, the new ECW, I went back and watched all his older work. When he left, I was heartbroken. So, who better to be my first draft pick of a modern era wrestling company than CM Punk?
Absolutely. I had him on my roster, too. And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, you're going to have good matches, you're going to have good interviews, and you're going to have great crowd heat.
That, and I think he would be a phenomenal teacher and or coach to anyone young who needs it. You know what I mean? Since these guys, I've seen guys say in interviews that he can come in, he talks with them, he goes over the matches with them. And, that's a very big difference than what we hear about guys in the 80s and 90s, like Hogan and Flair, not wanting to discuss or watch anybody's matches for them and give them a legit reason as why they might suck. You know what I mean? So with Punk, it seems like he's down to tell somebody, look, it ain't right yet, just fix it.
Right, yeah. You don't have the crap like Flair talks about in his book where Brutus Beefcake came up to him when he was wrestling. He had been doing matches with Eddie Guerrero and said, look, brother, the big man thinks you're selling too much for Eddie Guerrero. And you don't have that trying to hold somebody down. Right. It's more of a, the guys that are veterans now, a lot of them lived through that shit.
Right.
And they're making it a different kind of an atmosphere in the locker room.
Oh, definitely. And you can criticize it sometimes. I mean, I agree with an Undertaker saying, he used to look at the locker room and see guys smoking, playing cards, holding a gun. That was very manly. And now all they do is play video games and they look at Abercrombie and Fit models. And that's fine. But then you look at the different standpoint of everybody's approachable now. Nobody's going to be afraid to go approach CM Punk now because he's too big. But they were afraid to even say hello to Hulk Hogan.
Well, and it's not just that, but think about the fact that AJ Styles is 40? 43? Yeah. 43. All right. The type of locker room that occurred in the 70s and the 80s AJ Styles would be 43 and look 62 right now.
Right.
Because you read about wrestlers like how old they were when they died or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I figured that guy was 80 or something. But then you look and they're like 56, and it's like, Jesus, what is your life on the road done to you? Like Gorilla Monsoon when he died was as old as Sting is today.
AJ's 44, and like I was recently looking into something. I don't remember what it was. You didn't think about it, but like when Harley Race was like NWA champion or whatever, and was losing to Ric Flair, he was in his late 30s.
Yeah, and he looked like he was in his 50s.
He looked like a grown ass fucking man.
Right.
You know what I mean? When I was 33, I was fucking nothing. You know what I mean? Does that you get what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not saying I was nothing. Like I was successful in the job that I had or whatever. But I didn't know my ass from a fucking hole in the ground. And this guy is like a 5-time NWA champion, and has like fucking handgun in his fucking briefcase and all this shit. It's like, this is a fucking man.
And to echo what Eric's saying, if you look at Harley when walked into the WWF as King Harley Race, he looked 70 years old by then.
Mm-hmm.
But he was in his 40s.
But he was only 40.
That's what I'm saying. Like the different locker room atmosphere and the fact that they've cleaned the business up as far as drugs and stuff go. Really, and I'm not saying Harley was on drugs, but I'm just saying he did smoke probably like 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and
I probably get a bottle of bourbon a night.
Yeah. So anyway, we got off like we always do on a tangent there. CM Punk, good pull.
Second name on my roster because he's everything he says he is, and then someone comes to him, being a wrestler and an architect. Seth Rollins, the second singles wrestler on my roster.
Good pick.
I think Seth is a storyteller. I think he plays the role of a heel perfectly better than a face. And I think that when he wants to have a good match, he can. And even if he's not feeling it that day, he'll still sell it up for his opponent to give them the match they need.
Yes, and Seth is a guy that, to me personally, he's never done anything that I didn't like that wasn't something they made him do. Anything that's ever been bad associated with Seth Rollins example, I was not a fan of the Monday Night Messiah. I thought that it wasn't him. Yeah. It wasn't him. The whole thing was boring. But then when he had a match, he was Seth Rollins, and it was fantastic, of course.
Right.
But so yeah, he's only ever been hindered by booking. He's a superb piece of talent.
And I don't think it's really even so much as Vince's booking. I think it's creative, telling him this is what we got for you, but he makes it work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's doing his best with it. Like you said, the Monday Night Messiah might not have been the greatest gimmick ever, but it got him to where he is now. And this persona that he's using against Edge is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He's a mixture of the Joker, and I don't know what else to call him, but he's sadistic right now. So
yes, and everything he does, he gives 100%. And I mean, I don't know about you, either one of you guys, but I've never seen a bad Seth Rollins match. I mean, okay, that Hell in a Cell thing with the Fiend was garbage.
That was their booking, though.
Yep, that wasn't his fault, and it wasn't Fiend's fault. It was the way. I don't know if you watched the Seth Rollins with Austin interview yet, but yeah, he talks in that interview about how him and Bray, neither one of them wanted to do that bullshit. So
no contest in a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, that stupid thing with the hammer and all that garbage. It was terrible.
Here's the thing, though. They had the perfect way of doing a double turn there, too. By making Seth turn heel and maybe putting the beat in the face. And they didn't. They still have Seth going on in the face. But then he just committed manslaughter in their mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anything to chime in with, Aaron?
Seth was on my roster too, and I think, like you guys are saying, like there's no hole in Seth Rollins' game other than giving him shit to work with.
Right.
Yeah.
mean, if you and like the only hole I'd give is I have seen and it might be better now because like when he was in Ring of Honor and shit, like he wasn't always the best guy on the mic, and it's probably better now if they would give him shit that he was actually saying. Because honestly, like, not to bring up another podcast or whatever, but it's like Jim Cornette said, like when he went on Steve Austin's show and he was just talking and being himself, he was fucking personable and speak, you know. So it's like I think if that guy was able to just not necessarily your own material, because you're gonna give him an angle or whatever to work with, but here comes the rain. Let Seth Rollins be Seth Rollins, and you're gonna get fucking money. You know what I mean? So I completely agree with you guys. Like, I think is the only hole in this game is the creative they gave him, and they don't know what they fucking have. I think sometimes.
You know, you hear guys like Vince Russo and Bruce Pritchard say, when we finally let The Rock and Austin just go out without a script, they didn't surprise us, but they made us understand they don't need a script. Vince needs to start letting his guys do that again. Like he does, you can see he's doing it with Roman Reigns now. He's let him go out and say what he feels, and he's not lets it obviously with Brock and a lot of other guys. If he would have let guys like Seth Rollins and some of these other younger guys like Cesaro just go out and talk and actually connect with these fans, it might get them over better than they've ever got. And then once they wrestle, it's done. You basically hooked everybody.
Like, I don't know if this guy's going to be on your roster. If he is, I'm sorry. I don't mean to foreshadow. But it's like Nate and I were talking about with Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, whatever you want to call him. If WWE did great with John Moxley because they took him away from doing that garbage shit, which Nate and I were talking about. Where, yeah, he does the garbage stuff, but if you get it away from him, he can still actually work, you know?
Right.
I think if they would have let if they would have taken John Moxley and said, look, you're not going to do all the garbage shit all the time, maybe once a year you can do it, but still be John Moxley.
Right.
That dude could have been their fucking new Roddy Piper.
Well, yeah, he would have been happier to stick around. That was the problem. He wasn't exactly happy with it. So
because they weren't letting him beat John Moxley.
Right. And I guess he's happy now because AEW's letting him go do death matches in GCW and he's doing himself. So
yeah.
And like I said, that's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm not like a big deathmatch guy, but if you would have let that dude be his character, but not necessarily do all the death matches all the time, he would have been fucking money. I agree. We got off rails on that.
No. You're good. Next guy coming up on my roster, from NXT, because he's brute force and fantastic in the ring, technical wrestler, Tommaso Ciampa.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now, especially North America, and you can't go wrong with the guy. Like you said, he's amazing because he looks the way he looks, and has the body that he has and the look that he has, but he can wrestle like. Tommaso Ciampa doesn't wrestle a style that looks like his look, and it's insane.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's like seeing the Sandman do an armbar. You didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Ciampa, when you see him do some of these moves, it's like, really? You have that in your bag? You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
But then he makes you want more. You know? The only thing I will say I didn't like about Tommaso Ciampa, and it's not that I didn't like it, I just didn't run. His feud with Johnny Gargano. They were attempting to make it Shawn Michaels versus Triple H all over again. Mm-hmm. And they made like 6 months worth of booking seem like 5 years.
Yeah.
The storyline was over before you even went. Where if they would have let that be a slow burn and got them to the main roster and then continued the feud, and then one go off to SmackDown and one go off to Raw, and then they come back together again and feud again. You know, like The Rock and Austin or Triple H and Shawn Michaels. You would have said, oh, that's a feud of the year candidate. You know, the right kind of guys go at it. But they hot-shotted it to get it over in NXT. But now if they ever face each other again, you're like, oh, this again?
Right.
That was the only problem I had with it.
I think one of the things that made that, what do I want to say? One of the things that made that be the result of what happened is, from what I've always heard, Tommaso Ciampa has absolutely no interest in going to the main roster.
Him, Paul Gargano, got a whole class of NXT stars that were there over the last 4 years. Never wanted to see the main roster, but do you blame them?
No, because you just get Nakamura, as I always say. That's my expression. You're going to get Nakamura.
You know, Ciampa is now a 2-time NXT champion. He's getting ready to feud with a breakout star, in my opinion, and he's basically the king of the castle. You put him on the main roster, who's he going to be feuding with? John Morrison? Which they're still not going to Morrison, but they're going to have a fight in the rum match once a week.
Right. Yes.
You know? Next up on my list, to continue with the NXT flavor, and I just mentioned him because of their feud, Johnny Gargano, Technical Wizard, great on the mic, continue to love him and hate him in a heartbeat. Fantastic all-around athlete.
Yes. Super good wrestler, and you have to take his wife too.
Well, obviously she's come along, of course. You know, I have no rule on the roster for her right now because I have no women there, but she can be a manager or a, you know, valet.
Yeah, I just the reason I say that is I just think that she, and I'm not in any way comparing Randy Savage and Johnny Gargano, but I think that like Elizabeth and Sherry, why am I blanking on Johnny's wife's name?
Candice
LeRae.
Candice LeRae. I think that they, as a package deal, she brings so much. She elevates him almost by being with him.
Oh yeah.
You know. So, and again, that's not a knock on him at all. I'm just saying, it's a compliment. It's a compliment in that I think that they're a great duo together.
They are. A lot of work going on in NXT with them on the comedic side of things because she's pregnant and can't wrestle, can't do anything. Has actually been fantastic. The behind the scenes things and there's extra and indie hospital wedding and everything. It was funny. It was actually well timed property at the show. So I have no problem with either one of them. I think that they both do an amazing job. I wish Candice could have been an NXT Women's Champion by now, but I guess they have a bigger plan for her.
And with Gargano, not to chime in on what you guys are talking about. Actually, chime in on what you guys are talking about because that wouldn't be a show if I didn't give my fucking opinion. But Gargano's an Ohio boy, okay? And I watched Gargano on a show that was called Prime Wrestling. It's not a thing anymore. But it was like an indie show that was still on Sports Time Ohio before that went away. It was like the last indie show that I could watch on TV. And Johnny Gargano was on it. And that dude was fucking entertaining. And I don't understand the hate on the guy. This was fucking great in the ring. When he's given something that is good, he can be entertaining with it. And I've always liked him. And I liked him before he got from WWE. And when he signed, I was like, fucking sweet, Johnny Gargano's coming in there. And I like the guy. The only reason that I didn't put him on my roster was because when I built my roster, it was like a different type of roster that I was almost trying to build like an 80s roster in the now. I think that was, and he didn't fit it in. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with Johnny Gargano.
Not at all.
Nope, definitely.
Not at all.
He's a good pull.
I think in the next couple of years we might actually see him being bigger than he is now. If he steps to the main roster, he could be a world champion if they were to put a little bit of spotlight on him.
He's gone to AEW.
I don't know. He might.
He's AEW bound. He'll hit his stride when he gets there.
Yeah. Oh, he will. He will. Next time I listen to the World Heavyweight Champions, because in my opinion, over the last 4 years, he's been carrying a banner that no one else wanted to carry, and he made it prominent again. Nick Aldis, the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, is next on my roster.
He was both on ours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame you guys. The guy is fantastic in the ring. He is fantastic on the mic. If you don't get Flair vibes for him, if he's cutting a promo, I don't know what is that for. If he is cutting a Nature Boy-esque promo.
Yeah.
Just talking about something as simple as a match in 4 months from now can make you feel like you break Flair incarnate.
Yeah, well, and being honest, and this isn't knocking any of the other ones that are out there, but Nick Aldis and MJF are the only two guys that actually really play heel in the business anymore.
Right.
Some guys wander back and forth, or like you said, Seth Rollins, with this new gimmick that he's doing or whatever. But in reality, the only two guys that play like old school wrestling heel in wrestling, like and major wrestling now. I don't know about all the indies, but Aldis is one of them along with MJF. That's it. Mm-hmm. And he is so fucking good at that.
The way the dressing style, the way he carries the belt around, or did carry the belt around. Like I said, he put the NWA on his shoulders 4 years ago and said, yeah, I'll hold this belt. This is my company. Without there actually being a company. And then 2 years ago, Billy Corgan's like, yeah, we're going to make the NWA again. He was like, okay, let's go. And he never looked back. And in my opinion, if they did not have a champion like Nick Aldis when they first started, up until just recently, whichever Murdoch beat him, which Murdoch was deserving of the title, it would be the perfect guy to succeed Aldis. But if you don't have Nick Aldis in the driver's seat at that point, the NWA fails. Because they needed somebody like him in that role at that podium every week talking and then delivering in the ring.
Yep, and I totally agree. As a matter of fact, on my roster, I made him my first champion.
I was thinking
let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you sign his wife?
No. I hate. You know of my hatred for this. So, I was going to the Icons of the Ring in Philadelphia recently. I thought she was going to be there. And I asked David, is Nikki James supposed to be here? He's like, no, I think she's going to be at Celeb Fest for the big event, And I'm like, so I got a plan then. He's like, what's your plan? I'm like, I'm going to go get her to be, I'm going to get her, obviously, an autograph and a picture. And I'm going to see if I can get her to say, this is Nikki James, welcome to the Small Wood DLG Cooking, and make her my intro to my show. So this way, it's so ironic. Look at me talking about my show. When I was on the air, he's like, you can't do that. He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, why?
She won't know any different.
What? She's going to know what I'm talking about. He's like, what happened with 118 months? Like, the one that did my finger? Wouldn't she laugh it off him? And here's the thing. I used to be a Mickey James fan. When she was Alexis Ring in the Independence in Florida and then went to TNA. When she first joined the WWF, WWE, she was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't about her looks.
Her rivalry with Trish Stratus is my favorite women's rivalry ever.
And it had nothing to do with her looks. Yes, she's beautiful. But it had nothing to do with her looks. It had to do with her wrestling ability and her ability to change her character subtly. From a raving lunatic to, oh my God, she's one of the best women's wrestlers ever.
Right.
But the last 2 years, she's become bitter and old and doesn't want to go. And I don't mean old in the state of, because she's 42. I don't mean her age. But she's acting like if she gave something more to this business than any other woman. And she should be more on the card to anybody else. No, he was there
Right.
when he was Chris were there. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's not like you were the only woman on the roster.
Yeah, you weren't the foundation.
You know, so that's why I have that feeling for Trish. So no, I would not be signing Trish Stratus.
You mean Mickey James?
Mickey James, yeah, Mickey James. If I signed to make down this. So, moving on to my next person, sticking with the AEW team, with the NWA team, I'm going to take both the D'Angelo.
Fantastic wrestler. Great pull. You can use him as a babyface or a heel because he can play either very well.
Right.
He was to me he's one of the biggest missed opportunities for WWE over the years.
Yes, because they were more worried about Sylvester Guy than they were. What was his name back then? What was it?
De Niro. Crap.
Yeah,
D'Angelo.
D'Angelo De Niro.
Yes.
Yeah, but now he's the Pope. Yeah, what? He was fantastic then. He's fantastic now. TNA tried. He got injured. He was great on top with the wrestler. For the most part. So I think that he's a good mix in the roster. And if I want to have a TV champion or even an Intercontinental champion, he's someone I can count on to help build that division.
Yes. And he's another example of what we were talking about earlier with how differently wrestlers age now. You know, he's probably in his late 30s at this point.
Right.
And he still looks as good as he did in his 20s, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if he's aged. You know what I mean? He got a little bigger, muscular-wise, but he's not, he doesn't look, he doesn't look any older.
And he doesn't look haggard, and, you know.
No. And that's probably because he did take a little time off in TNA while doing the commentary and get some injuries. So, I'm sure he got a nice rest, and coming back to the NWA now, he's rejuvenated. He was a great team champion. So, it all really remains to see what the NWA is going to do with him next.
I think that's a great pick.
Yes.
Moving back to the WWE side of things, what are they calling him nowadays? The Scottish psychopath, Drew McIntyre, is my next pick. Mainly from the standpoint of big, lumbering, intimidating, and can, like you said, with Pope, Drew can also play control heel. So I think I would have him on my roster as heel, chasing the World Heavyweight title.
And that would be that would be a great use of him. He was also on my roster. He has been one of my favorite wrestlers since he burst upon the scene in 2005. It's amazing how long he's been actually wrestling, but he's had a great career. He's grown leaps and bounds as a performer. I mean, it really helped him that when he first got started, he was under that learning tree with William Regal and Dave Taylor.
Definitely.
You know, and he always has good matches especially for a guy his size. Some of the shit he can do with the weight and the muscle he carries around is insane. And charismatic. He's very charismatic too.
I didn't, when he first debuted in 2005, I didn't remember him being that big. He wasn't that muscular.
He wasn't.
His size wasn't, his size wasn't really, like, I didn't look at this guy and go, wow, he's almost 7 foot. But since he returned, with Dolph Ziggler and Dolph Ziggler and Diesel, you really look at him now and you go, wow, this guy is an absolute monster. He's flying around the ring.
Oh yeah, he looks like a completely different person than he did back in the day. Yeah.
You're not looking at him as, that's like 3MB. You're going like, this is Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
This is the punk kid that Vince called the chosen one and then failed, so to speak. He's a new man who's out to prove himself. And he did because he gained the world title twice.
Yes. Oh, and the only thing that hurt him was the fact that he had to be the COVID champion.
Right. But he made it work. He made it work. And he was actually being very, very close and playful while he was the champion.
And the thing I'll say about the guy, so you guys just said a lot about him, is it's like I've told Nate, and I've told you guys, I've told you, Arch, like I said this a lot of times on our wrestling show, on our wrestling podcast, that if you're gonna fucking draw a professional wrestler, you're gonna draw somebody who looks like Drew fucking McIntyre. That dude, like, there's a lot of wrestlers now, and I even just talked about Jon Moxley and how much I like him, but Jon Moxley doesn't. If you told somebody to draw a professional wrestler, they're not gonna draw Jon Moxley. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they might not even draw fucking. Well, they're not going to. If you tell somebody that doesn't know anything about wrestling, they're not going to draw fucking Daniel Bryan.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Every single one of us will say that Daniel Bryan's one of, if not the best wrestler on the fucking planet. Right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. But you tell a non-wrestling fan, draw what you think a wrestler looks like. They're going to draw you somebody that looks like fucking Drew McIntyre.
Right.
And I don't know if you were on the show when we talked about it, but who was that fucking guy I told you about, Nate, and you went and watched it again? The fucking Indian dude.
The Shanky?
Shanky. Yeah.
Oh,
You know who Shanky is?
Yep.
Shanky's that 5'7" fucking Indian dude.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched Drew McIntyre pick Shanky up and give him a goddamn jackhammer or whatever it was, I was like, that was the most impressive goddamn things I've ever seen.
That
Yeah, it's like
goddamn Drew McIntyre is a fucking genetic.
It's like watching Cena pick up the Big Show back in
Right.
like 04, you know, like, God damn!
Yeah. And they wasted it. You know what I mean? Like, when John Cena picked up the Big Show, it was on goddamn WrestleMania.
Right.
You know what I mean? But fucking John Cena picks up Shanky and it's on a fucking Raw and it's 6 minutes. What the fuck is going on?
The guy's name is Shanky. Imagine how much different of a place the world would have been if Hulk Hogan slammed Shanky and not Andre the Giant. I mean, still the same body type. 7'4".
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, brother. On that night, Shanky, he was up to 612 pounds, brother. Hulk Hogan, you fucking liar. Anyway.
All right, so Aaron
you couldn't even curry a match.
Aaron mentioned him.
That was an Indian joke. Sorry.
Not someone. I got it. Aaron mentioned him as not someone we would technically draw as a professional wrestler, but we consider him a professional wrestler and one of the best. And I agree. Bryan Danielson is next on my roster.
He's gonna give you those matches. He's gonna give you that electricity that he's one of the few wrestlers on the planet that has that connection with the audience. And much like you said with Punk, he can teach your young guys.
Exactly. And there are a few guys on the roster who might need that little push or that, the idea of knowing they have a safety net, knowing that the opponent is not going to lead them down a bad path and hurt them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I was watching Heels the other night, the season finale. I don't know if you guys watched the show or not.
I have not watched it yet.
It's fantastic. It is fantastic. And Punk is actually on the show as a character known as Billy Bats or something like that. Mm-hmm. One of the guys that's been with the company for a while but took a little time off is worried about getting back in. Punk throws his arm around him and goes, "Don't worry, I got you out there." And that's like, that's what he does in real life. That's not just what he does to a guy on the show. Right. You can tell CM Punk lets his opponents know if they're at all intimidated, scared, or worried. CM Punk's like, "Don't worry about it, kid. We'll get there. We'll do what we gotta do. We'll take it." Mm-hmm. And I feel Bryan Danielson is the same way. Yeah, he's been in matches with guys like Punk and guys like Zack Ryder. Two different spectrums there. Right. CM Punk's the main event, Zack Ryder is the opener or second match. And you could tell no matter who he was in the ring with, he respected them and showed them the way. He couldn't do it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, he's going to be a 5-star. And I don't mean a Dave Meltzer 5-star match. I mean a legitimate 5-star classic out of whoever he's in the ring with, whether it be Shanky or CM Punk. You know.
If you ask Daniel Bryan to carry Shanky, Archie, you're a shitty promoter.
Yeah. Shanky's not on my roster.
Because Shanky be stanky.
Next up, let's see, where are we here? There we go. Is the new NWA Heavyweight Champion, Trevor Murdoch.
He was also on my roster. I'll go ahead and let you go with why you made that decision.
Well, dating back to when Trevor first debuted in WWF as Trevor Murdoch again with Lance Cade, he was a worker. A workhorse, if anything, but that guy used to take a majority of the match and be bumped, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see how he went to TNA and other companies and tried to fit in a puzzle piece that just didn't do that. But then he shows up in the NWA, and he wasn't trying to fit in. He was just there. He was like, I'm here, put me in a match, let me get the damn contact and I'll show you what I can do.
Right.
And I watched him in the ring with Aaron Stevens. I watched him in the ring with Chris Adonis, Nick Aldis, Thomas Lattimore. It's never the same match.
Yeah.
This guy puts on a different face in the spirit of Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, and Harley Race. And granted, Flair can run on the same match every night of the week and on Sunday, but he changes it up just enough that he makes fun with it.
I was about to say there's certain wrestlers when you watch them that you'd never necessarily know who trained them, you know?
Right.
You watch Trevor Murdoch and you're like, gee, I think he was, even if you didn't know it, you'd be like, I think that guy was trained by Harley Race.
Right.
Because he's so versatile and he almost, Harley was one of the things that doesn't get, and maybe it does, and maybe I'm just not in those conversations, but one of the things that doesn't get talked about Harley enough is that Harley was like a chameleon. Harley was going to go in that ring and wrestle to the guy he was in the ring with.
Right.
As opposed to it having to be a Harley Race match. If he was with Dory Funk, he was going to be doing the slow, plodding, rest holds and toe holds and things that Dory Funk did. But when he was in the ring with Ric Flair, it was a little more electrifying. And Trevor Murdoch. Yeah, and Trevor Murdoch's the same way. He can turn the volume up and down, sideways, whatever. He's going to be, like you said, you just mentioned all these people you watched him wrestle. And in every match, it's never the same match. And he's wrestling to his opponent as opposed to making his opponent wrestle.
And then in the last couple of minutes where the match needs to go home, that's where Trevor Murdoch comes out and he either wins or gives a good enough showing to make you want to see it again.
Exactly.
It's a 30-minute match with him wrestling his opponent's style, but in that last 5 minutes, he kicks in, and you go, wow, where was this at?
Yeah.
We had this in reserve, So, I think he's a credit to any company he's with. And again, it's a missed opportunity WWF could have had. I don't think they were going to make him a world heavyweight champion, but I think he could have been the guy going for the world title.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Either a dirty bruiser heel, or just a knockdown right now roller.
Yeah.
Again, that's probably Cody was too fat and said that.
But good pick, definitely. Like I said, I had him on my roster too, for that very reason. He's a great everyman wrestler.
I agree. Anything you add, Aaron?
I've always enjoyed Trevor Murdoch, and I think that he's kind of an anomaly. That dude that looks like that shouldn't be that good.
Right.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand what you guys are saying about Harley Race. Like, you can tell Harley trained him, and you guys both know me, so I can talk fucking 45 hours about the greatest Harley race, but to me, he's the Dusty Rhodes of your roster. You have him on.
I agree with that as well.
Like, he's the guy that, how do I say it? Like, I know it's a cliche, but like, oh, that's the guy that I'd have a beer with that guy.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like, I don't want to say, oh, that guy would walk the bar and I can take it.
no.
Trevor Murdoch doesn't give that vibe, and that's kind of the vibe Dusty had, where it's not a guy I can take if he walks into a bar, but I'm not gonna fuck with him either. I'm just gonna have a beer with this guy and chill with him, and he gives the vibe like Harley Race gives the vibe of I'm not gonna fuck with that guy, but I also don't want to have a beer with him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I'm intimidated by him. But Dusty Rhodes walks into a bar, and I'm like, I want to have a beer with that guy. And he's the everyman. And if somebody fucks with him, he's probably going to be able to handle himself. And that's the vibe that Trevor Murdoch gives to me. And it's like the opposite of what I said, where like, oh, you could draw me a wrestler. You know what I mean? It's like, draw me a wrestler. You're not going to draw Trevor Murdoch if you're not a wrestling fan. But if you're a wrestling fan, you're like, yeah, I believe in this guy, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily like, oh, I think I can beat this guy. It's like, this guy looks like the guy I'm friends with. And not everybody knows that he's a badass, but I know he's a badass.
Right. If I need him, he's going to step up and take somebody else.
Yeah, this guy's going to have my back.
Right.
And if nobody's fucking with him, he's going to be the life of the party.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like the opposite of like Nick Aldis. Like when Nick Aldis would walk into a fucking bar, he's going to just pretend, he's just going to assume he owns the place. He's going to be like, fuck you, I'm broad, I'm handsome, I'm built, all your ladies want to fuck. But Trevor Murdoch's just like, give me a draft, some mini tacos, just leave me alone. But if somebody smacks him, he's gonna be like, God damn it. And all of a sudden, there's a Canadian destroyer hit, and the fucking stickers go everywhere. And now nobody has any mini tacos. Because Trevor Murdoch just fucked everything up.
He made me drop my mini taco.
That's a great intro skit for Trevor Murdoch for your promotion.
Yep. Sit in a bar, eat a mini taco. The gal just bumps into him. We drop my mini taco. Alright, so I'm lumping these two guys together because I think that straight off they're going to be feuding the way they are in AEW. I think the two of them are going to come in feuding like the minute that. The first one is Cody Rhodes because I think if he's not a booker, he's definitely a good enough wrestler to carry himself in any type of match. So as long as he's not booking himself, we're okay. But I think that the minute I would see Cody Rhodes walk down the aisle for his first match in my company, Malachi Black would immediately attack him. So those are the next two on my roster, Cody Rhodes and Malachi Black.
Both good picks. My biggest problem, Malachi Black, absolutely. I've been a fan of his since he was Tommy End. WWE completely fucking dropped the ball with him. AEW is doing him right, other than, and I don't want to get off on a tangent, but other than if WWE would have done that shit with Rosario Dawson that AEW did with Malachi Black, the internet wrestling community would have shit all over it. Anyway, beside the point, he's fantastic. My biggest thing with Cody is, like you said, he can't book himself because Cody looks at himself as a bigger star, I think, than he actually is. I don't see Cody Rhodes as a world championship caliber performer, but I've always liked him as a mid-card, like an intercontinental title champion.
And I agree with you, but he can be grown into being a world champion. He's willing to put in the time. But when he gets hot-shotted, they're like, okay, how do you call it? You know, and then you go back to, but yet this is the guy who for 2 months before he signed with anybody, which that told Triple H did. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
But you can't be that hypocritical. You know, granted, he's not been the world champion of AEW yet, but in Ring of Honor and in Japan, he got top title. And he shouldn't have had that quick.
Right.
You know, 6 months. You want to do a 6-month feud and then have your title, that's great. But if you've only been there a month and a half and you got a belt around your waist, you did something there. You said something to somebody. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but I think when he's not put himself and when put into a proper feud, I think he's out of Malachi Black, except for the Rosario Dawson DS.
Like,
definitely workable.
just as an example, real quick, not to harp on it too much, but just from my personal perspective, my favorite iteration of Cody Rhodes was the Smoke and Mirrors Cody Rhodes
Yes.
that feuded with the Big Show going into WrestleMania and et cetera, et cetera. To me, that's where Cody belongs. I think he's great in that kind of a role. Right. He has that look. He has that personality. He has that style.
I
even liked the mustache thing.
I liked the mask.
Yeah.
Is that the Smoke and Mirrors thing or whatever?
Yeah,
that was part of it. That was part of it because he was Smoke and Mirrors, like the arrogant thing, and then he got his face injured and he got the mask, and then they slowed the music down. He goes, "Only Smoke and Mirrors." Yeah,
I like that where he wasn't fucked up, but he thought he was.
Right.
Because
putting the bags on people's heads,
like not. Okay, how do I say this? Like, I think we said this a couple times. Like, you'd say a dude's a good-looking dude, not gay or whatever. Like, Cody's like a good-looking dude, you know. So when he wore the mask was funny because it was still see-through, but he was still looking.
Yeah.
Like I liked all that, and one of my favorite YouTube things, and it was actually Chris Jericho that posted it. It was like it wasn't even anything that WWE promoted. Jericho just did it. It was funny. He posted a thing on his Instagram or whatever, and it like wound up on YouTube. You know what the WWE guys are doing with Cody's music?
What?
Jericho filmed himself, you know how they would do the Glorious thing.
Yes.
Glorious music, and then Tommaso Ciampa and what's
Gargano.
Gargano was it Gargano?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would pop up and bob heads with him.
Right.
Jericho would walk with his phone through the locker room and go, "Whoa!" And then 5 dudes would be like, "It's only Smoking Mirrors." And that's so funny. Because he would just randomly walk through and wait till Randy Orton and Big Show would walk by and go, "Whoa!" It's it's only Smoking Mirrors.
It's funny.
So the only other thing I'll say about Cody, Archie, don't hire Brandy.
Oh, no.
All right.
But I will be taking Zelina Vega with Malachi Black.
Well, all right. I can see
I'd say hire Brandy.
No. She's terrible.
Yes.
I'm about to say something.
Put her in charge of anything. Hire
I'm about to say something to the Asian people to women, but I guess, like I said, I've known there's probably the female woman hater in the room. Brandy Rhodes is even down at being pregnant. Okay, I watched that Crossroads show or whatever it's called, Rhodes to the Top or whatever, and she was sitting there pregnant, and she didn't look. It looked like they put a fat belly underneath her. She wasn't really pregnant.
I'd hire Tom Brandy before I'd hire
her. As the Adrian or as Tom Brandy?
As Salvatore Sincere.
There you go. Quite alcohol. All right. Next up on my roster, Nate. I know you're gonna hate it, but he goes with 3 other picks. Well, 2 other picks, and they need to be on my roster because I need a good heel stable. So next up on my roster is Kenny Omega. And strictly, look, when put in the ring with someone good, he does the job. He knows what he's got to do.
Listen, here's what I'm going to say. Firstly, it's your roster. Secondly, I can DVR your show and fast forward past him just like I do on AEW. Thirdly, if you're a wrestling promoter and it's 2021 and you get to start your own promotion with unlimited funds, I mean, regardless of what I think, regardless of what I think about Kenny Omega. Anyway, I'm Justin Robertson. Anyway, no matter what I think about him, from a perspective of 2021 being a wrestling promoter, obviously he was not on my list. But why? If you think he can bring money and eyes to your program,
I'm a fan. Mm-hmm. And like I said, when he's put in the ring with someone good, like the match he had with Bryan Danielson on AEW a couple weeks ago, match he had with Christian last month, when it's somebody that can tell him, calm down for a minute, slow it down, okay, we're going here, all right, now you hit me, I hit you, it's good.
Stop fucking looking like you're having a seizure, please.
Right. But when he's in the ring with a guy like Jungle Boy, who I love Jungle Boy,
same.
Enough about Jack Perry. When he's in with a younger kid, he gets to control the match, and that kid is going to go 100 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. But no, like I said, I'm not. And this is your roster, and that is you have sound decision making and putting him on your roster because again, he's one of the past 5 to 7 years. He's one of the biggest draws in wrestling. Whether I fucking like him or not, that doesn't matter. That's like dropping into 1986 and not putting Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage on your roster. Like, this guy's a newsmaker. There's enough people that like him, and he can bring enough eyes to the promotion.
Right.
Sure. I mean, whether you like him as a performer or not,
Well, I do. I mean, lately he hasn't been at his best unless he's in the ring with Bryan Danielson, but I mean, I have been a fan of his for a while. I'm going to be a lot of matches and things like that. So, what do you think, Aaron?
We're talking about Kenny, right?
Yes.
I think Kenny is entertaining when he's in there with the right person.
Right.
And is involved in the right angle. I don't hate him as much as Nate does.
Right.
Does the blow up doll and all that shit. Yeah. But if you want to delve that deep into any wrestler, you can find something that's fucking trash.
Right.
But I enjoy Kenny. Like I said, I enjoy Kenny Omega when he's in there with the right person. The only thing I would try to do with him is teach him how to not look like a derp when he's not speaking. Like when he's walking out and he's kind of stand there, he looks like a fucking mouth. That's my biggest thing about him.
I will do my best to teach him.
Well, then, if you're gonna teach him that, teach him how to not be hurt, how to not be fucking herky jerky in the ring the way he is. Anyway.
Next up on my list, because I think that in the next year, we're going to be hearing big things about this young man. I love his background, and that who his dad and his uncle are. And I hope that Vince knows how to book him correctly. Ron Breaker is the son of Rick Steiner.
First thing he needs to do is change his fucking name.
Oh yeah, he's going to be Rick Steiner in my company, which is what he should have been in WWF or WWE. The kid looks great.
Oh,
he
man.
sounds just like his dad and like his uncle put together. I'm waiting for him to do his Steiner match. I'm waiting for Steiner match.
The first time I saw him, it was the first NXT 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know what it was that week or whatever, that there had been some buzz about him on the web, but somehow I missed it. So being perfectly honest, the first time I saw him was on that show. And he came out, made that debut match. And the first thing I thought was, what a fucking look this kid has.
Right.
He looks like his uncle and his dad combined.
Right.
Yes. What a look. And then the next week, I think it was the next week when he came out and cut the promo on Ciampa.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit!
Like Scott.
He sounds like Scott and Rick cutting a promo, and he's good on the mic. He's such a fucking natural, and you're right. He is going to be, if booked properly and used properly, he's going to be a huge star. And I think that people, it's the internet, and I know Aaron said it, and he was right, about the name.
The name is stupid. Stupid.
But I also think that he's going to be one of those guys that within a couple of years, we're not even going to notice that he has a stupid name.
It's just when he gets to the main roster, he changes it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Curtis Axel was Michael McGillicuddy in NXT.
Right.
So I'm hoping maybe he gets to the main roster, and maybe if he would have pulled in or a manager of some sort, he can grab the mic one day and go, "Hey, I'm a signer. I don't know who the hell Braun Breaker is."
And that's all going to come down to that. And it really, his name thing comes down to those silly WWE things where they don't, that as far as the name goes, as far as copywriting it and everything goes. So, but yeah, I mean, what a young talent. He's a natural already.
Like you said, the first match he had in this match, when he came out in that singlet, which was Tommy's daddy used to wear.
Yeah.
And then he threw that first suplex. I went, my God, I missed this. Because I have not seen a Rick Steiner match in like 13 or 14 years. And up to day one. And
right.
He was in TNA when they fought the Dudley Boys. And that was old man Rick Steiner. That wasn't,
nobody watched that.
Well, I did, but point being is, I miss seeing an ex-football player, college standout, monster come in and say, yeah, this is my life. Mm-hmm. And that's what he's doing in the promos with Ciampa now. He just did it this past Tuesday. Ciampa looked at him and told him, "Kid, you got 3 weeks to either become a main eventer or stay a rookie and anchor." And he looked at Ciampa and said, "No problem." And in his eyes, you could see he meant what he was saying.
Yes.
So, I don't expect them to put the IC title on right away. If they do, okay, let's see where it goes. But inside of 2-3 years, this kid is going to be huge.
Absolutely.
The thing about
no doubt.
That was, and I don't want to get too much into the weeds or whatever. That was the thing about his dad. Like, Rick Steiner wouldn't have been a great, long-term NWA champion.
Right.
But it could have worked.
For a couple months, yeah.
Yeah, like Rick was super fucking entertaining. And I'm not saying he wasn't entertaining when he got with Scott. But when he got with Scott, he got complacent. You know what I mean?
Well, he was playing brother,
it's my little brother, and I'm going to stick with him. And we're going to be a tag team. But, before his brother showed up, man, fucking Rick was over like a goddamn, like a motherfucker. And I think Rick Steiner is like a 4 or 6 month NWA champion.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he broke off from the varsity club and was like talking to his hand and all that shit like that.
Right.
He couldn't cut a promo to fucking save his ass. But it was like him not being able to cut a promo and talking nonsense really worked.
Like Sid.
Yeah. But even better because the guy could fucking wrestle.
Right.
Right. And that's what I'm loving about your son. Because he's got Rick's ability in the ring and Scotty's, but then when he talks, he's got Scotty's promo skills. So obviously both of them got this kid and showed him what to do when they were, when he was coming up as a football player or whatever. When he first barked at those first words, I was like, Jesus Christ, he's Scott Steiner. And then the music coming out with the siren. I'm like, yeah, it ain't fun for this kid guys his hair blonde. And so calling himself, Big Bad Booty Patty or something,
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and it's nice to see a youngster come in where you can hope they're going to do the right thing with him and see where they go with it, how it's going to work. All right. I have 3 more singles, and then we can move on to the tag team. I won't take you guys that much longer. Next on my roster, strictly to go with Kenny Omega, and the next, one of my tag team picks, Adam Cole, baby.
Well, I mean, you're not going to get any argument here because you know me. I think he's the best wrestler in the world right now. Of all the people, all right, it is a big deal that AEW signed CM Punk. It is a big deal that AEW signed Daniel Bryanson because it brings more eyes to the product. But as far as the future of that company goes, I never got more invested in the future of that company than when they signed Adam Cole because he's the future of the business, in my opinion. So him and Adam Page are my two favorites in AEW.
I agree.
So yeah, I mean, you're not going to go wrong with him. And he's another guy that's versatile. He can be a face. He can be a heel.
Right.
He's got another 20 fucking years on him.
I want him as a heel, obviously, because the heel promos are just so cocky and so downright perfect for him. You know, when he's got the face promos, okay, it's still good. But you want him almost being that top of the face.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. He's really good at making that I'm a piece of shit face.
Right.
Yeah.
But what you mentioned in the time I remember, even if it's over too late, this wasn't done 3 months later. He was on NXT week 1 of September, and by week 3 of September was in AEW. You know what I mean? They let him go without a non-compete clause.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or didn't even attempt to tell him he can't go anywhere for at least 30 days. No. He walked on WWE, went to Jacksonville, signed a contract that was on AEW followers. You know?
And I really do think that that comes down to the fact that WWE respects him. I really do think so. I think
it is. I hope it is. My fear is that they don't see AEW as competition. And they're like, what is he going to do there? You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, he made the fucking roof explode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, Daniel Bryan coming up time after that was big too. But those fans were so hot on Adam Cole walking out.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I think I look at him and I see the future of the business. So if you're building your promotion from scratch, you know, he's your next big guy. He's your next big thing, I guess, for lack of a better term.
He could be the next Bret Hart if he wanted to be. Because he's got that all around.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It doesn't just have to be high flying. It doesn't have to be technical. He can wrestle on any way he wants to win. He cuts a damn good promo. Fans react to whatever it is he's saying. And it's you can't miss on so many different levels.
I talked to Nate about this. I don't like to compare this guy to that guy or whatever. Like, oh, this is the guy at this time, this is the guy at that time. And I know you said Bret Hart, and I would say this. When I look at the AEW roster, and they're both Adams, which is funny. Of the two Adams, I honestly think if the trajectory and the booking of them goes properly, I don't think Adam Cole is Bret Hart. I think Adam Cole would be the Shawn Michaels of his own. And Adam Page has the potential to be the Bret Hart of his era.
That's a good way of looking at it too.
Yeah. Where Adam Page is going to give you the solid, kick-ass, on-the-mat match, and Adam Cole is going to be the flashy, good-looking,
I like this
smaller guy. You know what I mean? And Brett and Shawn were both smaller guys, and they're both good-looking dudes or whatever. But it's different
philosophies.
Yeah, and philosophies and variables with it. Like Adam Page, like I said, Adam Page reminds me a lot of Bret Hart, and I'd say Adam Cole reminds me more of Shawn.
No, I don't disagree with you. I like where you're going with that. I think it works. I think that does work. Anything else to add, guys, before we move on?
No, sir.
All right. Next on my roster, strictly because this guy has been a workhorse on the Indies and WWE, does not get the respect that he deserves, and I could fully see him chasing a world title or being a world heavyweight champion. I'm so kind of forced up about it. Cesaro.
Oh yeah, he was on my roster. You want to okay? Think about it. You got. Oh, let's just look at your roster. You've got Daniel Bryan. You've got CM Punk. You've got Adam Cole. You've got. I mean, all these performers. Nick Aldis, even with Cesaro as a babyface. He's going to have a great match with anybody. And he's the only guy I would say definitely I would give him a mouthpiece. You know, I would give him somebody to talk for him. If he was a heel, if he's a babyface, it's funny because babyfaces don't need to talk, if that makes sense. You know, they can. Right. With a heel, you need that promo to like piss people off or whatever. But I mean, he's the full package, and he's like much like I talked about with Drew McIntyre, a guy that looks like him you wouldn't think he would be able to do the shit that he can do.
Right. Dating back to when he was on the Indies with Chris Hero, they were doing craziness on that. And those double D moves that no one has ever seen before and done again.
Right.
You know?
I know Aaron's a big Cesaro mark too.
Oh yeah, Cesaro's great. So he's on your heel side or your face side?
I think I'm really loaded at heel. I might leave him as tweener for a little bit and just see how he naturally progresses. Fans are going to cheer him regardless of the face. That's the main issue with it. You know what I mean? As far as getting him over. So he's going to get cheered when he does the big swing or those rolling uppercuts that he does. So I'm going to leave him as a tweener. And if he chooses to dictate it as being a face or a heel, he can do it, however he wants. So.
Because if I'm your booker, which I should be,
okay,
I honestly would make him like the first, I'd say 6 months to a year. I would put him with Cole.
Yeah.
And I'd let him be Cole's heater. Like, have Adam Cole out there talking all kinds of shit. Like, Adam Cole, baby. And he's just doing it. He's doing the Adam Cole shit. Right. And not even necessarily having Cesaro talk. But, like, when somebody gets close to Cole, Cesaro's there to take him out.
Right.
So that's something to do for the 6 to a year is have fucking Cesaro. And you can have him have matches and shit, but I'd have Cesaro be Adam Cole's. And plus, I think they would look great together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, Cole looks a lot like Chris Hero in some ways, the long dark hair, the beard. So, and that's what him and Hero were doing for the longest time. Because the things of wrestling. Hero would talk his ass off. Anybody gets close to him, there was Cesaro to beat their ass. So, it does work.
Yeah.
But here's my problem with making you my booker. So, you would eat all the mini tacos and Trevor Murdoch was beating their ass like it. But what do I do?
What do I do?
You could have Trevor Murdoch and eat some popcorn shrimp.
Okay. If you're going to bring popcorn shrimp in place of mini tacos, we're in. Alright. Last person on my roster.
It's all deep fried.
And this is my world heavyweight champion.
Okay.
And I know that he's my first world heavyweight champion. You guys might say no, but why is that good choice here? When this guy cuts a promo, you feel it. Dating back to Dusty Rhodes hard time with the Better Man promo. This guy, every promo he cuts, you feel it deep into your soul. And then when he wrestles, it's not really a technical style. It's more of being a brawler. But then he pulls out a move and you're like, wow, where did that come from? Why is he actually that good at pulling off a drop kick or an arm drag or even something below the elbow? So my last single person on my roster, and World Heavyweight Champion, is Eddie Kingston.
And I won't shit on that at all. He wasn't on my roster, maybe because at the time when I built it, with the people that I wanted to put on it, I didn't have the room. But you're right about the promos. You're right about the promos. He has possibly the most real sounding promos in wrestling.
Right.
And he's a great performer. He's great bell to bell. I can't find any holes in him,
No. He has a bit of a problem with authority. That's why he doesn't stick around companies that long, but that's why he's actually working at AEW. They don't really have a big authority figure there to pull him out on anything. But again, that's why I was put on Cesaro, because of my, obviously watching everything on the internet about my favorite wrestlers. He and Cesaro actually have real heat in each other. Cesaro never wanted to put him over in Ring of Honor or in Chicago Pro. So, if Eddie's my first champion, my first feud for the world title would be Cesaro going after Eddie Kingston.
Play off the real life stuff, yeah.
Right. Have Cesaro walk out, put the proper, and see Eddie standing there and driving out for the world title. And Cesaro's like, he finally made it. Finally, world heavyweight champion. I guess it's up to me to send you back to the mid-card. And then they play off that for a couple months. And even if you involve someone to have Cesaro back, Eddie Kingston is actually a pretty lovable guy. So you can pretty much put him with anybody as a shooter, send it off. Or give the belt to Cesaro when I'm just like the there.
Hey, you know who would probably be a good person to hook up with Eddie Kingston there?
Who's that?
Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah?
Hey, man. Let's have some mini tacos to talk about whooping up on Cesaro's ass. But we got popcorn shrimp.
Anything to say about Cesaro, about Eddie Kingston?
I'm a big Eddie Kingston fan. I think the guy's super fucking believable. He's a guy like I was saying about Trevor Murdoch, but he's almost the opposite. He's somewhat the same, but he's the opposite. Like Trevor Murdoch's the guy who's gonna walk at the bar and just sit down and be like, "Hey, give me a whiskey sour and some drink." You know what I mean? Eddie Kingston's the guy that's gonna walk to the bar and
announce himself.
And be like, "What's up, bitches? I'm Eddie Kingston." Everybody gets around and then throws the shot glass at the fucking beer behind the bar. You know what I mean? And he's a great. How do I say this? And it's not the same thing, but it's kind of the same thing. Like where we were talking about how Trevor Murdoch's like a Harley Racer with Dusty Rhodes. Eddie Kingston's Roddy Piper.
I can agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
Like Dusty Rhodes or Harley Race aren't gonna try to start some shit. But Eddie Kingston's gonna walk in the bar and smack the biggest guy.
Hoping to start it right.
Well, and when he cuts much like Piper with Eddie, when he cuts the promo, you never know which Eddie you're gonna get.
Right.
You never know which Roddy you're gonna get. He might be laid back, docile Roddy. He might be Roddy in a fucking fedora, cutting the craziest promo you ever heard in your life.
Right. But you get what I'm saying? Like he's gonna walk in and find the biggest guy in the room, like Piper when he did Piper's Pit. Like he'd be on something with like Frankie Williams and be like, "Oh, I'm on Columbus, Ohio," or whatever. And I don't want to say like he wasn't intimidated by people, but he wasn't. He wasn't always the biggest guy, but he'd feel the need that all these people are watching, so I can't back down.
The greatest Piper's Pit, because it's not the best. It's not the best. It's not even the most entertaining. But to highlight Roddy Piper's character in a nutshell, the greatest Piper's Pit is the one with Andre.
Oh yeah,
because
he's looking.
Yes, and all that, and then at the beginning of it, he's braggadocious and the teeny weeny and all that stuff like that, and then by the end of it, he's like, okay, you know, like you're the man, you're the fucking man, Andre.
It's like when you think I'm giving like machine gun or whatever, he comes like, oh shit, yeah,
yeah, a good comparison.
Yeah, that's what I think of Kingston when you put him on a roster. I think he's your Roddy. I don't want to necessarily say anything bad about your roster or anything like that, which I'm not going to, because you have a good roster. The only thing I don't know if this might change, and that's fine because you had a good angle with it. But for me, I think that dude should be the antagonist of the roster. You should just
that's the whole thing. I feel that even as a world champion, he can still be the antagonist of the roster because he's a world champion. You know what I mean? Yeah. Come out there, so who wants a title shot? 5 guys come out there.
Or even this, and then I swear I'll let you get into your tag teams. This, even more perfect. He wins the title, okay?
Right.
And before Cesaro comes out for your angle that you're shooting, he cuts the promo, and the promo is, look at this roster. You got Nick Aldis, you got Daniel Bryan, you got CM Punk, Adam Cole. I heard these guys are the best wrestlers in the world. But look who's the world heavyweight champion. You know, that's the promo right there. You know, rub it in.
Right. What happened?
What happened? What happened, CM Punk?
Right. And then of all people to enter him, it's Cesaro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or even in the down, he's been looking at putting that role.
Right.
I'm going to put you down and make you feel you're the biggest piece of shit here. You know, when everybody else around you don't feel that way. You know, the fans are going to be cheering him no matter what. Again, he's got that attitude where the fans want to cheer him, even when he's yelling at them and telling them to stop. Absolutely. You know? So, I like that. You know what? They're my head booker. Aaron, you're in charge of popcorn shit. Aaron, you're in charge of popcorn shit. And you can be one of the announcers. You can be a live mic.
I can do that.
You're giving Aaron a live mic?
Yeah.
I'm resigning as your booker. It was quick, but it happened.
But damn,
you got one angle out of me.
You just called Johnny Gargano popcorn shrimp. I gotta fucking believe
you. You quicker than Cornette ever has.
I didn't even tell a racist joke.
Even Jimmy lasted 6 months. Oh, all right. I will do these facts as quickly as possible because they pretty much don't need a background on anything. They're all pretty tag teams. Number 1, the Street Profits. I think they cut a great promo, and I think that with their attitude and their dancing and, you know, the way that they come off in the ring, I think they're a good asset to any tag team roster in any company. They don't necessarily need to win the title right away, but fighting for them, you know, they make for a good challenge.
This is the first, and we don't have to. Well, I mean, obviously, other than Kenny Omega, this is the first, other than Kenny, This is the first one you and I differ on as we're discussing this. I'm not a fan of that team.
Okay.
I see potential in what's his face? Montez.
Small guy or the big guy?
Montez Ford. I see potential in him when I watch him. I just don't know. Like when I watch him, he still comes off as green somehow, and he's been. I mean, they've been, but their act gets on my nerves, I guess. And maybe that's the point. Maybe you use them as heels and they get on my nerves. But I'm not a big fan. But I can see what you're saying, like especially because they're both young and they can still be molded. And they are a good tag team. They're just not my cup of tea. I'm just not a big fan.
I was watching them when they were in WNM, and it was the NXT for NXT basically.
Right.
And they were actually much different. They were heels, and they came out with a group of people. They had like 6 people in their entourage, and they weren't putting matches on their own. It was like one of the 6 in the strike referee, and the other 6 in the nothing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, and WWE signed them. They come to NXT, I'm like, okay, are they doing this? And then they came out and they were just like comedy.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so are they the new day?
I don't even think they didn't even start them together, did they? Because didn't Angelo Dawkins do a thing where he was like wearing like a backpack and stuff at one point? Okay, I was trying to remember if that was him or not because they cycled through a lot of gimmicks there at the beginning of NXT, so I couldn't remember. But
for like 10 years.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I mean, and I'm not hating on it, and I see what you're saying. You know, they're a good young tag team, and I don't necessarily have anything against them. Once the bell rings, they're just, I mean, I don't know, their personalities and their gimmick annoy me.
No, I understand that. They are a bit annoying at times, but there are times when put into the proper feud, that they can work. So
yeah, and I mean,
with somebody else it works. You know,
those couple of recent matches they had with the Usos were really good matches. When they were wrestling Garza and was it Andrade? Yeah, it was Andrade. When they were wrestling them on Raw, they had good matches. Like I said, with them, I think more it just lands to me with their personalities rub me the wrong way. But yeah, definitely bell to bell, they're a good team.
Next up on my list is Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Luchasaurus Rapid Express. Jack Perry is a good young student of the game. And I don't know what it is, Nate, but lately Luchasaurus is showing something.
They were on my roster, and I said when we talked about my roster, Jungle Boy's the shit. I love that guy. I think he's great. Luchasaurus, like you said, every wrestler doesn't have to be a wizard. Every wrestler doesn't have to be a guy that I'm going to go, oh, he's going to have a 5-star match tonight. You know, I was a fan of Psycho Sid. You know, and it's not like Sid ever had a 5-star match. Luchasaurus is that for me. He is, to me, he's an attraction. You know, he's a big guy.
I watched him on Rampage Friday, and he landed a choke slam and then a standing moonsault, and I'm like, Jesus, he's definitely good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then he also put the guy in a headlock and started to play the match. And like, so he actually knows how to go from 100 miles an hour back down to 50 and keep things at a 19 So he's not like a lot of these guys where it's just move after move after move, kick out, move after move after move, kick out. He knows he's showing something. So if he's going to get them together, hopefully at the long term, because I don't think either one of them needs to go off on their own yet. They make for a great team.
Jungle Boy is, and I'm going to liken Jungle Boy in AEW that I likened WWE with Seth Rollins. Is I've never seen Jungle Boy do anything that was offensive or that I didn't like that he wasn't booked to do. I.e., I hope you're like me, Archie. And when you bring Jurassic Express in, you're going to leave the Afterbirth behind, and Marco Stunt's not coming with them.
No, I am not a Marco Stunt fan. And this was way before I knew what Jim Cornette thought of him. But when I seen some of the things that Marco Stunt has done on the Indies, and then the fact that he's basically just a throwing belt for some of these guys.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? He's 4'5" and he's just going around. It's like, you have to want to be a wrestler. You can't just want to be a guy.
He looks like they're letting the Make-A-Wish kid be on TV every week.
Right. You know what I mean? My son saw him get thrown over the age a couple of weeks ago on AEW. My kid's like, who is that? I'm like, well, why do you want to know him? Like, they just still a fan. So, like, he's actually on the roster. He's like, okay, who is he? So I explained to him, he's like, he's a midget, and I'm like, no.
He's not a midget.
I'm like, he's like 4'5". He's like, Dad, that's legally a midget. I'm like, I guess he's a midget, I don't know. He's like, so why is he on the roster? I'm like, I don't know. I'm getting explained it. Yeah. But even my kids, they just still a fan. I'm like, no, he belongs there.
They tossed a dwarf.
This is ESPN 2.
Yeah, this is ESPN 4.
Here's the thing. You remember how bad we all felt when Kevin Nash one-hearted Rey Mysterio into my trunk?
I didn't feel bad. That was funny.
I felt bad. I cringed. I was like, oh, thank you for happened away. And when it happens to Marco Stunt, I'm like, yes, give me that.
He's finally dead.
Oh my god. These guys like take the clown of me. You know. So, and I would leave Marco Stunt back wherever he's gonna go.
Well, I can't support Betasaurus.
Oh. Yeah, what?
Said I can't support Betasaurus. But Jungle Boy should be that last year. But Betasaurus,
Why don't you like Luchasaurus?
how do I say it? I told Nate this. I don't hate Betasaurus. I hate his dude. Okay. I think if the dude was just a dude, I don't want to say just a dude, but like if he got away from the fucking armor dinosaur, I'd probably be fine with it because he's a perfectly fine athlete. I just hate his game.
The only other thing I'll say about Jurassic Express, and then I promise I'll let you move on, Archie, is there's this new trend in wrestling, and it started in the Attitude Era where we all did the if you smell the wrong stick it along with the Rock or whatever. But there's this really new trend in wrestling where the crowd sings along with entrance music,
right?
Judas and Cult of Personality and blah blah blah. But I want to tell you right now, if I ever go to AEW Live, I promise you that you will see me on TV going, oh, because that is like, I love the fact that they use that song for his entrance. It's like my favorite entrance in wrestling. Like I sit here in my little studio watching AEW and he comes out and they come out. I'm in my studio singing along with that fucking
song.
Yes.
And I'd probably be there with Nate because they can buy me a ticket. And I would probably sit there.
You would see on camera me singing along with it and Aaron looking at me like I was a fucking idiot.
Yeah. But then 47 minutes later, when it was like, Wild Tang! Losing my fucking mind.
It's not Onita. It's not Onita. It's not
no, I have to admit, I'd be singing too.
Well, everybody sings Wild. I just can't understand why they use that song for the concert. It doesn't make sense.
An homage to Onita, I guess.
Onita gave him that song thinking that their death match and depending on maybe death match is going to be like a Japanese death match. And then I'm sure after he saw the fireworks that went off, he was like, fucking do my song back.
You know Wild Thing. You know Wild Thing.
You're in my song back.
I'd definitely be in the crowd. Wild Thing.
Next up on my roster.
My favorite playoff of Wild. Sorry. My favorite playoff of Wild Thing is when back in the day, because like when people would be like, back seat, windows up, that's the way we like to start.
Yes.
My favorite thing with Wild Thing would be like when people be like, Wild Thing. You made my thing sting. It's so fucking stupid. It cracks me up. Good. That was super lame. That's why I can't be the bookie.
That's why you're the announcer. You should be saying that. Well, actually, Moxley isn't on my roster, so you just sing it on. You'd be like, why are you singing that song? It doesn't work here.
Archie's paying me.
Right.
I got a guaranteed contract.
Alright. Stuff on my roster.
Next favorite nations, bitch.
From NXT, the Grizzled Young Veterans.
That's a good pull. I didn't think of them when I made my roster. But they're a really fucking good tag team.
They're grainy. Is that the right word? They got
Gritty.
Attitude, gritty, and throwback to, older tag teams. When I think it's Zach Gibson cuts a promo, and he says their name and he does the road slash and everything. I get chills like that. I remember Arn Anderson do that. You know what I mean? When he would take somebody out.
I picked, when I did my roster, okay, so I had Nick Aldis as my champion.
Right.
And then I had a tag team as like his heaters,
right.
Part of his group or whatever. And it's funny because I actually picked Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan.
Okay, that's still the goal.
The Grizzled Young Veterans kind of fill the same kind of slot in your roster, they're the same kind of team. So yeah, I mean, very, very, you could go either way there.
Right. Well, see, that's the whole thing. If Albus needs backup, he's got them, and he's even got a Cesaro, and he's got a 4 there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where, in the same regard, they don't need to be with Albus because they can wrestle and they can cut promos. My only reason for not putting a title on them yet would be I want to see them get to it. You know what I mean? I want to see how gritty and how badass they can be when they're challenging versus, here's the belt. You know what I mean? So, I don't know what it is. And it's not even so, I always forget the other guy's name. I have it like in the back of my head. But when Gibson delivers those promos for them, and then they go out and actually back up what they're saying. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
They light up the ring whenever they're in there, whether they're in there with a smaller tag team, or they're in there with a bigger tag team, and their finisher looks brutal.
Yeah.
And for all the right reasons.
Exactly. Yes.
Any thoughts here?
I don't know enough about them.
Honestly, you hate NXT people else. You don't want NXT. All right. Well,
yeah.
Next on my
NXT, I tried it. Yeah.
I know. I'm just gonna watch it eventually.
I must keep myself watching it. Out of excitement, but out of something to happen.
For the first couple of weeks, I called it NXT in living color.
Yes. Good call. Good call. You sent the Comedy Clown to come out. Homie, don't play that.
That would have been better.
This is something crazy. It's such good shit.
Our truth shows up as the clown.
It's like his face doink come all over the show.
Alright, next up on my roster, keeping with the NXT thing, are the NXT Tag Team Champions, MSK.
I almost put them on my roster. Actually, honest to God, I have them scratched off. I had them on my roster, I scratched them off, and I put the Usos on instead.
You're talking about Tom Servo and Crow?
No, not MST3K, just MSK.
Alright.
You know what's funny, Archie?
What?
They annoyed me in TNA, all right, or Impact, whatever the fuck it's called this week, or whoever it's owned by this week. The promotion that you can't kill, like AEW and WWE, are going to go out of business, and Impact is still going to be on. But anyway,
number one,
They annoyed me. They annoyed me there, and then when WWE signed them, I was like, "What the fuck did they sign those guys for?" And actually, since they've been in WWE, I haven't minded them. They're actually pretty good.
They're not doing the stupid 4-year-old promos like the teenagers in a clubhouse. The promos are a little more coherent. What bothered me though was you left the best of that team left an impact because you didn't want to give him a decent enough contract. Ray Miguel is unbelievable in impact. And they almost put the world title on him. That's how good he was and how quick he came up. Don't get me wrong, the other two guys on the team are great, but he was like something else, you know what I mean? And he said supposedly they wanted him to move to Florida, and he said, "Can I just go back and forth? You don't pay once a week anyway."
Right.
And he didn't want to move, and then he failed physical over pot, and they told him you got to lower your contract or whatever. But whatever the case, I think MSK will add a Steve in the roster and can have great matches with Jurassic Express and with the Street Profits.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and to get beat up by the grizzly young veterans.
Right. But they're actually 2-0 over the young veterans. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Next up on my roster, you mentioned them, and I agree they deserve to be on it, are the Usos, Jimmy and Dave.
Mm-hmm.
They have delivered since day one in WWF, and I think they will deliver on my roster as well. I don't want to put the belts on them right away because it seems like whenever you like to have a tag title, but I think that they can be serious number one contenders for quite some time.
Those guys, it's amazing sometimes when you think about what they've been in that company for over a decade.
Right.
And they've gone through so many iterations and revamps and et cetera, but they're always high caliber performers. So good that WWE is willing to ignore their, transgressions.
Yeah. 2 months ago, Jimmy got pulled over for a drunk driving thing. 4 days later, he's the world tag team champion.
That don't happen often.
Nope. That happened to be a Roman Reigns influence. Look up the
world champion. Absolutely.
You not let him stick around.
Aaron?
It's still a good tag team.
They're a very good tag team. The only downside to, and I've thought this of them being in the WWF, is the only downside of it is you can't break them up unless one of them gets hurt before he can't work anymore.
Because they're twins?
Yeah. That's the only way you can break them up. Is if one just goes to hit a fucking big move and his fucking leg blows off or whatever. You can't do anything with it. You can't break them up. You can't have them have a fucking feud.
Well, you could.
You know what I mean? What are you gonna put one of them in a hat? The one you hate's the one in the hat.
He's the hat user.
Yeah. Jimmy's the one with the hat.
One gets a grill and the other one doesn't. Yeah, you would have to, if you were going to break them up, you'd have to have two brands and put them on separate brands.
That doesn't even matter. There's no fucking brands.
But in Archie's world, there could be.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, me neither.
There you go. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not knocking the team.
No, I know what you're saying.
That's if you're telling me we're going to sign Usos, I'm like, well, that better be your long-term team because there ain't no breaking them up.
Every 3 years, I will make sure one of them gets their leg bone off, so the other one's not replaced.
Like, hey, when are you guys going to actually lose your eye?
Right. But don't worry, we have Seth Rollins here, he knows how to do that.
Yeah.
Next up on my roster, again, I know you guys hate them, But I like them, and it completes the Cole and Kenny Omega stable as the Elite. It is the Young Bucks. And I know that universally, lately they've been isolated. They've not themselves over. And I know that it hasn't hurt in the tag team that didn't know. They helped them grow. It's a brother and I'm tag team champion. But I think when you put them in there again, like you put them in there with a sound tag team, people to calm them down. And when it doesn't always have to be a super kick, you don't have to kick out 20 times in a minute. I think that this is what good match.
This is going to surprise you probably, because I actually can make more of a case, like I did earlier, for Kenny being on your roster than those guys. I can't give you a positive.
The only positive that you could do with putting the Young Bucks on your roster is sneaking them like an entire bottle of melatonin and then saying, "Hey, Young Bucks, we're gonna book you as Braun Breaker."
Oh my God! You want me to
They've both eaten like an entire bottle of gummy melatonin, and they're in a deep sleep. And then we just look at Braun Breaker and go,
"So wait,
do whatever you want."
So wait,
rape them, throw them, kill them. We don't give a shit. Do whatever you want.
Hold on, I'm murdering the Young Bucks, and I'm blowing up an AEW for wait.
You have a hell of a tag division. This is intriguing.
I like it. I might as well have Russo as my booker.
Bro.
Jimmy Russo's laying on a pole mat.
Melatonin, bro.
Just zombify both of them. Ron, do your best. Do your best.
Last on my roster. These are my World Tag Team Champions. Because my opinion is no tag team that is better than anyone else.
Better be who I think you say it's going to be.
I think that both of these guys as a tag team are phenomenal. And I think that down the line, one of them may have some pretty big serious success. My tag team champions, in the last spot on my roster, go to FTR.
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly who I was hoping you were going to say.
Yes.
Because they're the best tag team in wrestling.
WWE did not know what they had there.
Neither does AEW.
Well, AEW doesn't, but at least they got them with Tully, and they're keeping them around and giving them decent tag matches when they're done. And I think over time they will get back to gold and be a prominent tag team champion there. But WWE was, I mean, they were what, a month away from putting them to wrestle Hornswoggle. You know what I mean? It was like it was all comedy about it. Let's make them look like idiots. You had a tag team that's close to Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard as possible. The only way it could have been closer is if you would have cloned them.
Right.
And you decided, no, they need to lose to every team on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They don't ever need to cut a promo.
I mean, some of the best tag team matches of the past 10 years were FTR versus American Alpha.
Right.
Jesus Christ. And WWE mismanaged every single person in that entire sphere. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. They're the best tag team in the world, and they definitely should be your first tag team champions. And I think, if I'm your booker, then I'm going to pair them up. It sounds funny, but I'm going to pair them up first because this team's not going to beat them for the titles. But FTR is going to make them look superb. I'm going to pair them up at first with MSK.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're kind of the little underdogs, and FTR could make them look better. And then later on,
I wanted to, like, you know, it's the technical side versus that high flying ability of LSA. I want them to, to be exposed like, well, you know how to do high flying.
Right.
You know what I mean? We get you on the ground, we'll take you out.
It's not the same, but it's basically when they put the brain busters with the rockets.
Right.
Right. Or Tully and Arn with Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, but I'm talking like a WWF aspect of it. They did it to show like, hey, the Rockers were already there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they also put Anderson and Tully in there with the Rockers to show that even though these guys are mat wrestlers, they can still. I don't want to. Does that make? I don't want to.
No,
say
I agree. I
but
agree.
it makes sense. Like, yeah, these guys might be mat guys, but they can still have flashy matches if we need them to. And that was what's important in the WWF. You know what I mean? Like if it would have been the flip side, like the Rockers would have gone to the NWA, they would have still done the same thing, but they probably would have had the Rockers working more of a mat-based thing. You know what I mean? The biggest thing the WWF or the WWE dropped the ball on with FTR wasn't even anything in the ring. The biggest thing they dropped the ball with was when, actually it was probably, what's his name, Cash Wilder.
Yeah.
What's Cash Wilder's name now? Is that his name now?
Dax Wilder. With Dax Wilder in WWE, he's Cash Wheeler now in AEW.
The biggest thing they dropped the ball with was when Dash hit the shit out of that fucking fan.
Yeah.
That's the biggest fucking thing they dropped the ball on. That should have made them a fucking $1 million team in fucking wrestling. Like, have goddamn mercy, that motherfucker, that fucking psycho fucking dude getting on Brett, knocking down Natty, getting him out of there, and fucking Cash is going, nope, this is not. Boom! Cracking that guy. That should have been a fucking huge
money.
That should have been a storyline. He should have came out and like, I'm the guy that saved Bret Hart. You know what I mean?
Or, hey, if you get in my fucking way, I'm gonna put some fucking. Like that should have been like that should have made that guy that fucking.
I'm a pro wrestler, and if you hit my ring,
I'm gonna fuck you up. Because, honest to God, that was a real life thing. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to do it. But fucking Cash was just like, fuck it. I'm gonna go old school on this motherfucker, and I'm gonna pop in this fucking drop. That should have made that guy a fucking billionaire and never went to that.
Back to Russo. That's a shoot, bro.
I should have made that guy a fucking lifer in that time.
Definitely. Vince didn't give a shit anymore. And there was nobody around to talk to him to stay because they already heard Triple H tell them so many times, don't worry, it's going to get better. I got it. I'm going to fix it. You know?
And they left because everything, I never saw the pictures of the outfits or whatever, but they basically wanted to make them the new Too Cool. So they told them.
It was baggy onesies and a clock around their neck and top hats.
Yeah, they wanted to make them the Too Cool. You know, their era.
And they wanted them to have new names. And it's like, so wait, we're supposed to forgive these guys with a revival? And we're already pumping champions multiple times? So you put them in a baggy onesie with a top hat? You know? Like, we're not dumb. We're not totally dumb. You know, and what family's gonna be like, oh my god, this is me tag team. No, that's why that's survival.
Baggy onesie with a top hat.
Ridiculous. It got so bad that when they were feeding the Young Bucks on Twitter before they got fired, the Young Bucks actually made that costume for themselves and were gonna go out and wrestle just to make fun of them.
Well, the Young Bucks wear onesies now. I saw pictures where they were
yeah,
like,
that was
They're wearing onesies.
One of them was wearing a dress that was like straight out of the Golden Girls. I don't know what that meant.
They're fucking they're horrid and ridiculous.
Yeah, fuck the young ones.
Someone said it was an Easter egg. Someone said it was an Easter egg for Bray Wyatt coming in. You know, the whole Sister Abigail thing and then the blind shirt.
They lay an egg. So. They lay an egg every fucking week.
Yeah.
And then they shove it back up their asses.
So they can lay it again next week. Archie, I have to say, other than the Bucks, very solid roster.
Thank you.
I even give you see that? I even gave Omega credit before I gave the Bucks credit, because maybe I hate them more than I hate him. I don't know. But anyway.
It's because there's two of them.
And thank you.
And they're little, and they suck, and everything about them is fucking grotesque. I fucking hate the Young Bucks. The only thing I hate more than the Young Bucks, and I'm glad neither one of you put this piece of shit on your roster, is fucking Orange Cassidy.
Oh, I wouldn't put him.
Orange Cassidy and the Young Bucks. I wish they would just Thelma and Louise themselves and just drive off in the goddamn Grand Canyon and never be seen again.
I didn't mention because I wasn't sure it should be mentioned, but he's your assistant while you're on commentary.
Well, at least he'll just fucking sit there.
Oh no, he's gonna talk while you're on commentary.
The first time the actual Orange Julius or Orange Cassidy took his fucking hands out of his pockets, he hurt somebody.
Did he really?
Yeah, he fucked Matt Hardy up. First time he took his hands out of his pockets, he broke Matt Hardy's fucking face.
Oh, Matt Hardy gets hurt every time he steps fucking damn way.
Man, the dude can't fucking work.
Maybe it's time Matt Hardy retires. Why is Matt Hardy?
I know he's not anybody's roster, but I'm just saying, fuck Orange Cassidy. Fuck the young.
No. I wouldn't even let Orange Cassidy buy a ticket to be in my fucking audience.
Right. You know,
he's an embarrassment. He is an embarrassment. We're gonna wrap up, folks. I promise.
Hold on.
But no.
Before we wrap up, hold on. I found out something about him that I didn't know. He was in Chikara as one of the ants.
Yes, he was.
He was the red ant, the fire ant, or something. Mm-hmm. Those guys actually wrestled pretty differently with those matches. What the fuck happened? What happened to Jackson?
Here's what I'll say about him before we wrap. Okay, I don't like Kenny Omega, and I don't like Kenny Omega because I don't. My main thing about Omega is just when he wrestles, it annoys me. I said, I don't like the gesticulations. I don't like his mannerisms. I think that he overexposes high spots. He does everything that if he would wrestle.
Man, and you can tell he's an athlete.
Okay, all right. I'll concede to that. I don't like the Young Bucks. I think they're hot garbage. Everything about them annoys me. The thing that I hate the most about Cassidy is his gimmick. Okay, we're all professional. We're all professional wrestling fans, right? I don't know how anybody who is a fan of pro wrestling can like him, because his gimmick literally shits on pro wrestling.
I agree.
Like I lost respect a little bit, and I like Pac. I really do.
For when he did the cookie thing?
Yes. The first time Orange Cassidy did that little shin kick to him, he should have punched him in the fucking mouth.
Well, yeah, you think that. I agree with that.
Well, I said the same thing about Sting.
Yeah, I saw Sting do that.
I love Sting. When I watched Sting do that with Orange Cassidy on AEW, I turned it off. Like, I don't even remember what episode it was. And I've watched it again since. The minute I saw that happen, I just said,
I get Sting as a company man, and he wants to be behind all these young guys that help people over, but that was like,
Yeah, so Cassidy might actually rank. He might be my least favorite over Omega, because it's just, I don't know, I hate everything about him.
And I just, nobody even brought him up, but I just wanted to get up on my soapbox, and I think at the end of every episode of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, I just shit on Orange Cassidy. Piece of shit.
He's replaced Beefcake.
Yeah. Yes, actually.
So you traded one orange man for another.
At least Beefcake had a hold and personality. This guy
didn't completely shit on his business with what he did.
He didn't disrespect it. Beefcake never disrespected professional wrestling. He at least tried.
God damn it, he
tried.
When he was sitting in the trailer, when Beefcake was sitting in the house trailer next to Greg Valentine, and they saw Orange Cassidy for the first time, Beefcake was like, "What do that could to the wrestling business?"
It done ruined it, Greg. Do you agree not?
Do you agree not? All right, guys. Any parting words before we sign off here?
Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for joining us today, and see you again next week.
Yes, we will. And again, like I said, everybody, this is now probably the first maiden voyage that we'll call it of the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network. And more shows to come. Aaron's show will be a podcast. Archie's show will be a podcast. Maximum Gold, Slice of Time. So stay tuned to way too many fucking podcasts.
I'm getting a goddamn logo, bitches.
From all of us here at the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network. And we will see you next time around. Archie, thank you for your roster.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you next week.